To grid your paper, you're going to need a ruler and a pencil. Every ruler is different, so you need to double check and make sure where the 0 is on your ruler. So for this ruler, there is no actual 0. So this is an inch ruler, okay? Sometimes like your ruler might have both inches and on the other side centimeters, okay? This ruler, if you look along the top edge, every one of these larger numbers is an inch, okay? But there's no 0, okay? So what that means is that the edge of the ruler is 0, okay? And that's really important because we need to make sure we line up 0 when we measure our paper. We want to make sure 0 is at the edge, okay? Now, for my plastic ruler, if you look, this is the inch side, okay, and there's a 0. So that means that this little bit here will not count. So when I line up the edge of my ruler, okay, to the paper, I need to make sure it lines up at 0, okay? So double check your ruler and make sure it's lining up to 0. To draw our grid that we're going to print into, you want to make sure you're using the square watercolor paper. It's thicker and has a little bit of a beige tone, okay? First thing we're going to do is make a set of measurements along the top here, or near the top, okay? We're going to measure, I'm lining up the ruler at 0. We're going to measure and make a tick mark of sort of going up, like you want it to be kind of vertical. Doesn't really work if you make them horizontal, so I'm going to go like this. First mark is going to be at 1.5 inches, okay? The next tick mark you're going to make is at the 4.5 inch mark. So I'm going to make another tick mark. That's 4.5. And you don't have to write these numbers, that's just for you. And the last one I'm going to make is at 7.5. So I'm going to slide this down so you could see. So the ruler hasn't moved. 7.5. The next thing you have to do, and this is really important, anywhere lower on your page, I'm just going to slide this down, line up my ruler to 0 again, okay, and I have to make a second set of marks, okay, and in the same locations, okay, at 1.5 inches, 4.5 inches, and 7.5 inches. Okay, and you'll see why that's important in a second. So just anywhere lower, as long as it's lower or on the other side of your page, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a set of marks here at 1.5, put a tick mark, 4.5, and at 7.5. Okay? Now I'm going to take my ruler, turn it vertically, and I need to line up these two tick marks so I can draw a vertical line. So one method I still love is to put your pencil on one of the tick marks, butt the ruler up against it, and then you can line up your other tick mark here easily without, okay, losing your spot. Big open hand on the ruler so it stays put, and then all the way from the top of the paper, I'm going to just draw a line like this. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing with this set. Excuse me. Do the same thing over here. Okay, so now I have my verticals done. All right. Now I'm going to rotate the paper because I need to do the same exact measurements and the same exact set of lines going in the other directions. So I'm going to turn my paper and now take my ruler again, make sure I'm lining up 0. I'm on the inches side. Doing the same exact thing. Line the ruler up to 0. Hold it, make sure it stays put. I'm going to measure, make a tick mark at 1.5 inches. I'm going to make another tick mark at 4.5 inches and another tick mark at 7.5 inches. slide my ruler down to the bottom, near the bottom of the page. Make sure I'm lined up to 0. Hold my ruler steady. Make a mark at 1.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 7.5 inches. Flip my ruler so it's vertical. Line up the top tick mark with the bottom tick mark. Hold it in place with my hand. Make sure that ruler is not going to slide around. And now I'm going to draw a vertical line like this. I'm going to do the same thing with the next set. And the same thing with the last 2. So now I have a grid. If you notice, this grid is the exact same size as your styrofoam.